So a new acquisition, Grand Seiko SBGA 375. What I loved about my quartz Grand Seiko was that it had the 44 GS case. And what I loved about my SBGA 285 is that it was spring drive. So what I did was I put them together and picked this one up. So like I said, you've got the 44 GS case and you have the spring drive. And this one does have a clear case back, so you can see that beautiful movement. And this is what Grand Seiko calls spring drive at midnight. So this thing is absolutely beautiful. You've got that, the brushing, the polishing, Zaratsu polishing, all those hard edges, the 44 GS case in a 40 millimeter. The dimensions, I think, in my opinion, are just perfect. See if I can get that dial. So that dial, although it has a sun ray effect to it, it is a midnight blue, and then you have a black date wheel. But this thing is just awesome. So I didn't do an unboxing on it just because I've done many unboxings lately on Grand Seiko. And yes, I'm kind of on a Grand Seiko kick, but I really think for the amount of money you spend on something like this, you're getting, top tier, high-end watchmaking at, I feel, really an affordable price. Yeah, Grand Seiko's pricing, they've been going up, but I think you're getting, highest quality in movement, the highest quality in the case and fit and finish and everything compared to many other watches in its price point. And yes, I'm talking about Omega and I'm talking about Rolex, which I still love those brands. I'm not liking those brands. It's just these Grand Seikos are really, they're beating them. They are beating them at the moment. At 12.5 millimeters in thickness, this thing just hugs the wrist. And then it's tip to tip at about 46. And like I said, 40 mil case. Drilled lugs, you can change those bracelets out if you wanted to throw on a real nice leather strap. Let's go over here, see how this looks. Oh yeah, look at that. Sapphire crystal. "72-hour power reserve" on that movement. Applied markers on that, or applied GS up there at the 12 o'clock. And of course, border date wheel, which I love on these. You can really pick up that, look at that dial, that blue. Applied markers. What I didn't like about my other 44 GS was, although a beautiful silver dial, it's really hard to get that time right away because everything was silver. But this thing here with that midnight blue dial, you can easily pick up the time at any moment. And what's really funny is wearing this at night and waking up early in the morning, it's still dark, and you look at the time, you can actually read the time because of how they polished and brushed these hour markers and also the hands. So you can actually read this very well in low light conditions. So you really don't need lume all too much. And a lot of times lume, it needs to be charged anyway. So that's what really makes this work so well. And I think that's also something that Grand Seiko has really thought out as well, with their polishing, their brushing, the way they do it. Like if you look at these hands, you're brushed on the middle and then you have those polished knife edges. You have a capped second hand. You see that second hand where it's capped, and it's just gliding along there, and you can actually see some of that sun ray here in that dial. Everything they do, I really believe everything they do is just top notch. Let's look at that movement. So here's that movement. And if you look at that plate, how it's cut out, that's actually, I believe, Mount Fuji. The way that kind of mountains up there. So that is really cool. I mean, all about their detailing. Grand Seiko is all about the details. There's that, I guess you want to call it a balance. That thing's just running along. And this thing is extremely accurate so far. It's a 30 joule movement. This is the 9R65, which is 72-hour power reserve. All in-house Seiko. Grand Seiko. And you can kind of see that sapphire. It has that Grand Seiko etched in the middle there. That is also pretty cool. I don't mind that so much. I know some of the other ones, they put it in gold and you can't even see the movement. It just really gets in the way of looking at this beautiful movement. But I mean, everything, too bad I couldn't get any closer here. Maybe later on I can try to get some better video of this movement, but everything, I mean, the screws all polished perfectly. There's really, you really can't see any fault anywhere. It's just insane. Let's go back to that 7.5-inch wrist. This thing just wears perfect. I really believe this is probably the perfect size for me, coming in at 40 mil. It just works perfect. Now, this is a 19mm bracelet. And like I said in the past, I thought it had a taper, but I don't believe it has much of a taper. I mean, this is 19 to maybe 18 in the middle there. So not a whole lot of taper, but I'm fine with that. Some of the newer Grand Seikos are running 21mm lug opening, 22mm lugs as well. I don't mind the 19, I really don't. This probably will not leave this bracelet. So I'm actually pretty happy with it the way it is. You have brushing and polishing on the edge of the bracelet as well. It's just really done super well. And what's really cool is this model, the SBGA 375, is still being made. It's a production model. It hasn't been discontinued. Just like the Snowflake, still going. So I think this is one of their core models that's going to possibly stay. And I hope it does, because that's what Grand Seiko needs. They need to have a few that they keep in there, and you get some longevity, and that will really help, of course, their marketing and sales. But they need to have some classics that just stay in there. So hopefully this stays in there. I love it. I think it's just beautiful. It's everything that I want in a Grand Seiko. Nothing I don't. Of course, I love the textured dials, and I wish I could have a textured dial. But the only problem is there's not many textured dials in the 44GS case. So I had to kind of pick and choose how I wanted to do this, because I want this case. I have to have the case, but I wanted a nice dial. So I've got a sunray dial. That's inky blue. And it makes it so much more legible. Anyway, there you have it. Sneak peek, little review of my SBGA 375 Grand Seiko Spring Drive. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.